Hey guys! Tonight we journey into the sun-scorched mountains, the vast deserts, and the hidden canyons of the American Southwest. We're setting aside the noise of the modern world to listen for the whispers of the past, to understand the life of the Apache people. But we're not going to be visiting the world you've seen in old Hollywood movies. Forget the one-dimensional caricatures, the silent warriors on horseback silhouetted against a sunset. The reality of Apache life was infinitely more complex, more spiritual, and more challenging than any film could portray. It was a world defined not by constant warfare, but by the intricate bonds of family, a deep connection to the land, and an astonishing resilience in the face of unimaginable hardship. So, before you get comfortable, if this is the kind of deep, immersive history you enjoy, I would be truly grateful if you'd take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It helps this community grow in incredible ways. And as always, I love to see how far these stories travel, so please drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from tonight, and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now, dim the lights. Find a comfortable position. Perhaps turn on a fan to create that soft, steady hum. Let go of the day's worries and allow your mind to drift. We are about to step into a different time, to walk in another's footsteps, and explore the profound origins and struggles of a people whose spirit proved as tough and enduring as the land they called home. The long echo of a northern footstep. Let us begin not in the familiar heat of the desert, but in a place of deep, primordial cold. Your story does not start with cacti and canyons. It starts with the memory of ice, of vast, dark forests of spruce and fir, and the bite of a wind that carries the scent of snow, not dust. You are Apache, but your ancestral heart beats with an ancient northern rhythm. Imagine yourself not as you are now, but as an echo, a spirit traveling back through the immense corridors of time. Go back 500 years, 1,000. Go back until the world you know dissolves. You are in the subarctic, in the sprawling, unforgiving wilderness of what will one day be called Canada and Alaska. You are Athabascan. This is your people's cradle. Life here is a constant negotiation with the cold. Your world is a tapestry of deep green forests, rushing silver rivers choked with ice in the winter, and a sky that is either brilliantly, coldly blue or a heavy, oppressive gray. You live in a small, nomadic band, following the great herds of caribou, your lives tied to their seasonal migrations. Your home is a simple, temporary structure of hide and wood, easily dismantled and moved. Your clothing is made of thick, warm caribou hides, sewn together with sinew. Your food is meat and fat, providing the precious calories needed to survive the crushing, months-long winters. You do not think of yourself as migrating. You are simply living. Your family group moves a few miles, following a herd. The next generation, your children, move a few miles further. It is not a single, grand expedition, but a slow, generational creep, an uncoiling of people across the continent over hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. Why did they move south? No one knows for sure. Perhaps it was a subtle shift in the climate that affected the caribou herds. Perhaps it was pressure from other competing groups. Or perhaps it was something less tangible, a prophecy, a dream, a spiritual calling that pulled your ancestors, generation by generation, towards the distant, unknown warmth of the sun. Imagine the journey. It is not a single lifetime, but the collective experience of 50 generations. As a young child, you listen to the stories of the elders. They speak of a time when the trees were different, when the sun sat lower in the winter sky. Their stories are your only map. You learn the skills of your parents, how to track, how to hunt, how to find edible plants in a seemingly barren landscape. As you move south, the world changes with an imperceptible slowness. The dense northern forests begin to thin. The great herds of caribou are replaced by herds of bison on vast, grassy plains. Your people adapt. You learn to hunt this new, immense animal. You learn to use every part of it, just as you did the caribou. The bison's hide is thicker, its meat richer. Your tools change. Your hunting strategies evolve. You are no longer a people of the forest. You are becoming a people of the plains. Further south you go, generation after generation. The endless grass gives way to rolling hills, then to rugged mountains and high plateaus. The sun grows more intense. The air becomes drier. The plants and animals are entirely new, strange, and mysterious. You see plants that guard themselves with thorns, animals that can survive for days without drinking. This is a new world, a new set of rules for survival. Again, you adapt. You learn that the spiky agave plant holds a sweet, nutritious heart. You learn that the beans of the mesquite tree can be ground into a life-saving flour. You learn to hunt the swift, elusive pronghorn and the wary mule deer. Your language, Athabascan, remains the deep, structural core of your identity, the thread that connects you all the way back to the great, cold north. But as you encounter new peoples, the Pueblo farmers in their stone villages, the desert foragers of the Great Basin, your culture begins to absorb new ideas, new technologies, new stories. You are still Athabascan, but you are becoming something else, something new. You are becoming Apache. You finally arrive in the land that will become your home, the rugged mountains and sun-blasted deserts of the Southwest. You are an outsider here, a newcomer in a land that has been inhabited for thousands of years by others. The settled Pueblo peoples look upon you with suspicion. You are different. You are nomadic. You do not build permanent homes of stone. You do not spend your entire life tied to a plot of corn. Your relationship with the land is one of movement, of hunting, of gathering. This long, slow journey, etched into the collective memory of your people, has forged your character. You are adaptable, resilient, resourceful, and fiercely independent. You have learned to read the land like a story, to find sustenance where others see only emptiness. You have survived the ice of the north, the vastness of the plains, and now you will learn to survive the fire of the desert sun. Your ancient northern footsteps have led you here. This is the place you will now call home, a new world to learn, to understand, and to defend. The journey has ended, but the struggle for survival has only just begun. A world held together by family. Now that you are here, in this new, sun-drenched land, what is the anchor of your world? It is not a city, a temple, or a king. It is your family. But the word family in your language means something far more expansive and profound than the small, isolated nuclear unit of the modern world. Your entire universe is structured around the Gota, the extended family cluster, and it is the only source of safety, identity, and meaning you will ever know. You are born into your mother's clan. This is a matrilineal society, a world where lineage, identity, and the most important kinds of property flow through the female line. You belong to your mother, and she belongs to her mother, and so on, back to a common ancestral woman. Your father is a beloved and important figure in your life, but he belongs to a different clan, the clan of his own mother. He is, in a sense, a permanent, honored guest in your mother's home. This structure provides an incredible source of stability and power for women. Imagine your home. It is not a single, isolated dwelling. You live in a cluster of wickiups, your family's homes, situated near a spring or in a sheltered canyon. The most influential member of your Gota is not a male chief, but your grandmother or perhaps your mother. She is the matriarch. Her wisdom, her experience, and her judgment guide the daily life of the entire group. She directs the women in their gathering of food, she mediates disputes, and she holds the stories and traditions of your clan. Your closest and most important relationships are with your mother and her sisters, who you also call mother. Their children are not your cousins. They are your brothers and sisters. You grow up in a world teeming with siblings, a large, chaotic, and deeply supportive group of children who are all responsible for one another. There is no such thing as an orphan in your world. If your mother were to die, her sisters would raise you as their own, without question, without hesitation. You are a child of the clan. Your maternal uncle, your mother's brother, is an extremely important figure in your life, particularly if you are a boy. While your father teaches you many things, it is your uncle who is responsible for your formal training in the ways of the warrior and the hunter. He is of your same clan, and it is his duty to discipline you, to guide you, and to ensure you grow into a man who can provide for and protect the family. The bond between an uncle and his nephews is one of profound respect and obligation. This extended family is your entire economic and social world. The food you gather is not your own. It belongs to the group and is shared according to need. The women go out in large groups to gather wild plants, digging for roots, harvesting berries, collecting nuts. The men hunt together, and when a deer is killed, the meat is distributed among all the families of the Goda. There is no concept of individual wealth accumulation. Hoarding food would be the most shameful and antisocial act imaginable. Your security lies not in what you personally possess, but in the strength of your relationships and the generosity of your kin. When you come of age, your marriage will be arranged. It is not a romantic affair based on individual choice, but a strategic alliance between two clans. You will not be allowed to marry someone from your own clan or from your father's clan. This is a strict rule that prevents inbreeding and, more importantly, weaves a wide and sturdy web of kinship across different family groups. When a man marries, he leaves his mother's home and goes to live with his wife's Gota. He builds a wiki up for his new family near his mother-in-law's home. He now has a profound obligation to provide for and protect his wife's family. He hunts for them. He fights for them. This creates a powerful bond between clans, turning potential strangers into obligated in-laws. Your relationship with your mother-in-law, if you are a man, is one of extreme respect and avoidance. In many Apache groups, there is a strict taboo against speaking to, or even looking directly at, your mother-in-law. This is not a sign of dislike. It is a formal social mechanism designed to prevent the friction and conflict that can arise in a close-knit, multi-generational living situation. It is a structured way of maintaining harmony. Life within the Goda is intimate and constant. You are rarely, if ever, alone. You cook over a shared fire. You work together. You eat together. You raise your children together. You know everyone's business. This provides immense emotional and physical security. You are loved, you are protected, you belong. But it also means there is very little privacy and immense pressure to conform to the group's expectations. Your actions are constantly observed and judged by your kin. Your worth is measured by your usefulness to the group, your skill as a forager, your patience as a mother, your generosity, your good humor. To be without your Goda is to be functionally dead. If you were cast out for some terrible crime, you would be stripped of your identity, your resources, and your protection. You would be a ghost upon the land, with no one to share food with, no one to help you build a shelter, no one to protect you from enemies. Everything you are, from the food you eat to the name you carry, comes from this intricate, powerful, and all-encompassing web of family. It is your fortress, your government, your economy, and your entire world. The home that breathes and moves. Your home is not a static monument of stone, built to defy the centuries. It is not a fortress designed to keep the world out. Your home is like your life. It is adaptable, it is practical, and it is ready to move when the land tells you to. You live in a wiki-up, and it is a masterpiece of ephemeral architecture, a perfect reflection of your nomadic soul. Imagine the process of building this home. You do not begin by quarrying stone or felling ancient trees. You begin by walking, by observing. You and your family, primarily the women who are the masters of this craft, search for a suitable stand of young, flexible saplings, oak, willow, or juniper. You are looking for trees that are straight, strong, and can be bent without breaking. You harvest the saplings, not with a metal axe, but with patient, skillful work using a sharp stone chopper or by using fire to weaken the base of the tree. You carry these poles back to the chosen campsite, a place with shelter from the wind and proximity to water. You then begin to construct the frame. You drive the thicker ends of the poles into the ground in a circle, typically 10 to 15 feet in diameter. Then comes the elegant and crucial step. You bend the tops of the saplings inward, arching them towards the center, and you lash them together with cordage made from yucca fibers. You have created a strong, light, dome-shaped skeleton. The structure is inherently resilient. It can give and flex in the high winds that sweep across the desert, rather than rigidly resisting and breaking. Now, you must give your home its skin. This depends on the season and the materials at hand. For a summer shelter, you might thatch the frame with bundles of native grasses or brush, leaving gaps for air to circulate, creating a shaded, breezy refuge from the blistering sun. For a more permanent or winter home, the covering is much more substantial. You weave a dense mat of brush, leaves, and grass to cover the entire frame. Over this, you might place animal hides, deer or bison skins that have been scraped and tanned, overlapping them to shed rain and snow. The entrance is a low opening, covered with a hide flap always positioned to face the east, towards the rising sun, the source of new life and power. In the center of the floor, you leave a small, shallow pit for a fire, with a smoke hole left open at the very peak of the dome. To step inside a wickiup is to enter a small, self-contained universe. The air is cool and dim, a welcome relief from the glare outside. It smells of earth, of dry grass, of wood smoke, and of the faint, leathery scent of the hides. The light filters through the thatch in soft, dappled patterns. The space is small, intimate, and circular, with no corners for bad spirits to hide. It feels organic, alive. It is less like a building and more like a nest. Inside, your possessions are few and practical. Woven yucca mats for sleeping, baskets for storing food and personal items. Your hunting weapons, your bow and quiver of arrows, your spear lean against the frame. A few clay pots for cooking or carrying water might sit near the hearth. Everything has its place. There is no room for clutter. The true genius of the wickiup, however, is its portability. Your clan does not stay in one place for the entire year. You are semi-nomadic. You follow the seasons, moving to higher elevations in the summer to escape the heat and hunt, and to lower, more sheltered areas in the winter. You move to where the pinyon nuts are ready to be harvested, or where the deer are migrating. When it is time to move, the wickiup is not a burden. The hide coverings and valuable items are packed up and carried with you. The dome-shaped frame of saplings is often left behind, a silent skeleton waiting for your family's return the following season. Upon your return, you can quickly rethatch the existing frame and have a comfortable home within a day. This is a profound philosophical difference from the settled peoples around you, like the Pueblo farmers. Their lives are tied to their permanent, multi-generational stone villages. Their identity is rooted in a single, ancestral place. Your identity is different. Your home is not the structure itself, but the land upon which you choose to build it. Your home is wherever your family is. The wickiup is the physical expression of this freedom and adaptability. It is a home that breathes with the wind, that travels with the seasons, and that can be raised from the earth and returned to it with equal grace. It is not a fortress against the world, it is a shelter that is part of it. The land as a larder. The art of hunting and foraging. You do not have a supermarket. You do not have a farm. The vast, rugged, and seemingly empty landscape around you is your larder, your garden, and your grocery store. But to survive here, you must possess a level of botanical and zoological knowledge so deep and intricate that it would rival that of any modern scientist. Every plant, every animal, every insect is a potential source of food, medicine, or tools, and you know how to find, harvest, and process them all. This knowledge is not written in books. It is etched into your memory through a lifetime of observation, practice, and the stories of your elders. Let's begin with the plants, the most reliable source of your sustenance. This work belongs primarily to the women of your clan. They are the botanists, the pharmacists, and the chefs. In the spring, after the sparse winter rains, you search the land for the first tender green shoots. You gather wild onions, the roots of the cattail, the young, tender pads of the prickly pear cactus, after painstakingly burning off their fine, vicious spines. But the most important plant in your world, the one that is a staple of your diet and a centerpiece of your culture, is the mezcal, or agave. This is not the agave used for modern tequila. This is a large, formidable plant with a rosette of thick, sharp, sword-like leaves. For most of its life, it is inedible. But once in its lifetime, after 10 or 15 years, it sends up a single giant stalk, preparing to flower and die. This is the moment you have been waiting for. Just before the stalk shoots up, the heart of the agave plant swells with a rich store of sugary carbohydrates. Harvesting the agave is a massive communal effort. The women of your clan go out to the agave fields. Using sharp stone tools and fire-hardened digging sticks, you laboriously cut away the tough, spiky leaves to get to the heart of the plant, a dense, pineapple-shaped core that can weigh 30 pounds or more. You bring these heavy hearts back to the camp and prepare a great pit oven. You dig a large hole, line it with stones, and build a massive fire in it. Once the stones are white hot, you clear out the embers, line the pit with wet grasses, place the agave hearts inside, cover them with more wet grass, and then bury the entire thing under a mound of earth. The hearts then roast slowly in the subterranean steam oven for 2 or 3 days. When the pit is opened, the air fills with a sweet, smoky, intoxicating aroma. The tough, fibrous agave hearts have been transformed. They are now soft, sweet, and incredibly nutritious. You eat them fresh. A rare and delicious treat. The rest is pounded into thin sheets and dried in the sun, creating a sweet, chewy, and calorie-dense cake that can be stored for months, providing a vital source of food during the lean winter months. You also rely heavily on the mesquite tree. Its long, dry bean pods are harvested in the summer. You grind these pods, seeds, and all into a fine, sweet, and protein-rich flour using a mortar and pestle. This flour can be mixed with water to make a simple porridge or baked into small, dense cakes. The yucca plant is another cornerstone of your survival. Its fruits are edible, its roots can be cooked, and its strong, fibrous leaves are the raw material for your cordage, sandals, and baskets. You know which berries are safe to eat, which nuts to gather, and which roots hold water. The land is not a barren wasteland to you. It is a complex, living pantry, and you hold the key to unlocking it. While the women gather, the men hunt. Hunting provides the essential protein and fat that plants cannot. You hunt the mule deer and the swift pronghorn antelope, which roam the grasslands and foothills. This requires immense skill in tracking and stalking. You use a bow made of mulberry or locust wood, its string made of twisted deer sinew. Your arrows are fletched with hawk or eagle feathers for stability and tipped with razor-sharp points of flint or obsidian. A successful hunt is a celebrated event, and, as mentioned, every part of the animal is used. But you also hunt smaller game. You set ingenious traps for rabbits, wood rats, and prairie dogs. You might hunt birds with small, blunt-tipped arrows designed to stun them without ruining the meat. The hunt is not just about food. It is a source of essential raw materials, hides for clothing, bones for tools, sinew for cordage. Even with this encyclopedic knowledge, survival is never guaranteed. A drought can wither the plants and drive the animals away. A late frost can kill the spring blossoms. A fire can sweep through a grove of pinyon trees just before the nut harvest. You are in a constant, dynamic relationship with the land, a relationship of respect, reciprocity, and profound dependence. You do not own the land, you are a part of it. You take what it offers, you give thanks for its generosity, and you know that your life depends entirely on its continued, fragile abundance. The necessary art of the raid. In the modern world, the line between economics and warfare is often blurred by corporations and governments. In your world, that line is much more direct, and it is embodied in one of the most misunderstood aspects of your culture, the raid. To an outsider, an Apache raid might look like simple theft or mindless aggression, but to you and your people, it is a complex and necessary institution. It is a form of economic redistribution, a rite of passage for young men, and a vital survival strategy in a harsh and competitive world. Let's be clear. A raid is not the same as warfare. Warfare is a much more serious affair, undertaken for vengeance, to avenge the death of a kinsman, or to defend your territory from a major threat. Warfare is organized by a war leader, involves large parties of men, and is steeped in solemn, often dark, ceremony. It is a quest for blood. A raid, on the other hand, is primarily an economic activity. The goal is not to kill, but to acquire resources that your band needs to survive: horses, livestock, food, or manufactured goods. Killing the enemy during a raid is often seen as a failure, as it is likely to provoke a swift and bloody retaliation, which is not the objective. The ideal raid is swift, silent, and successful, with the raiding party returning home with valuable goods and without having suffered or inflicted any casualties. Imagine you are a young man, eager to prove your worth to your clan and to the young woman you hope to marry. You cannot simply accumulate wealth on your own. Your path to gaining respect and status is to demonstrate your skill, your courage, and your ability to provide for your people. Joining a raiding party is one of the primary ways to do this. The raid is led by an experienced leader, a man known for his skill, his luck, and his spiritual power. He does not command, he leads by consensus. He will announce his intention to raid a specific target: a Spanish settlement, a Mexican rancho, or a village of a rival tribe like the Pima or the Tohono O'odham. Those who wish to join him do so voluntarily. Before the raid, the party undertakes important ceremonies. They pray to Usin, the creator, for success. They might perform rituals to make themselves invisible or swift. They paint their bodies and their horses with symbols of power. The journey to the target is made with incredible stealth. You travel at night, resting during the day in hidden, secluded locations. You move through the rugged landscape like ghosts, your knowledge of the terrain, every canyon, every pass, every hidden spring, giving you a tremendous advantage. You communicate with hand signals, or by imitating the calls of birds and animals. When you reach the target, you observe it for hours, perhaps days, learning the routines of the inhabitants. You are looking for a moment of vulnerability. The goal is to get in and out as quickly and quietly as possible. The prime target is often horses. Horses are the most valuable commodity in your world. They represent wealth, mobility, and power. They transform your ability to hunt, to travel, and to conduct both raids and warfare. The raid itself is an explosion of controlled chaos. At the leader's signal, you and the others swoop in, stampeding the horse herd, cutting out a number of animals, and driving them away at a full gallop. It is a display of breathtaking horsemanship and coordination. Others in the party might be tasked with quickly grabbing other goods: a sack of corn, a blanket, an iron pot. You are in and out in a matter of minutes, disappearing back into the vastness of the landscape before an effective pursuit can be organized. The return journey is just as dangerous. You are now encumbered by the captured goods and livestock, and you know that a pursuing party will be on your trail. You travel hard and fast, often without stopping to rest for a day or more. If you are successful and return to your camp with horses and supplies, it is a time of great celebration. The goods are distributed throughout the Goda, strengthening the entire community. You, as a young participant, have gained valuable experience and, more importantly, you have earned the respect of your elders and the admiration of your peers. You have proven that you can contribute to the well-being of your people. Of course, raiding is a high-risk activity. You could be killed or captured. Your raid could fail, bringing shame upon you. And your success will inevitably invite retaliation from the people you have raided. This creates a continuous, often brutal, cycle of raid and counter-raid that defines your relationship with your neighbors. It is a state of endemic, low-level conflict, but from your perspective, it is a necessary part of life. The settled peoples have resources, corn, cattle, horses that are concentrated in one place. You are a nomadic people in a land of scarce resources. The raid is your way of correcting this imbalance. It is a dangerous, deadly art form, a critical element of your economic and social world, and a testament to your ability to survive and thrive in a world of constant challenge. The unseen power that moves the world. Your world is saturated with a force, an energy, that you call Dian. It is a sacred power that flows from the Creator, Usin, and animates every aspect of the universe. It is in the lightning that splits the sky, the wind that whispers through the pines, the silent strength of the growing corn, and the healing power of certain plants. This power is not inherently good or evil. It is simply a fundamental force of nature. Some people, through training, ceremony, and spiritual gifting, can learn to connect with and wield this power. These individuals are your shamans, your medicine people, your singers. They are the spiritual engineers of your society, and their ability to channel Yin is essential for healing, for protection, and for maintaining the delicate balance of your world. At the heart of your spiritual understanding is Usen, the life giver. Usen is not a human-like deity who sits on a throne and issues commandments. Usen is a more abstract, all-encompassing divine essence, the source of all creation, who is generally distant from the direct daily affairs of humanity. The primary way you interact with the spirit world is not through direct prayer to Usen, but through a host of lesser, more accessible spiritual beings. Chief among these are the Ga'an, the mountain spirits. These are powerful and benevolent beings who dwell in the sacred mountains that ring your homeland. They hold the power to heal disease and to protect your people from harm. They are most visibly manifest during one of your most important and spectacular ceremonies, the crown dance. Imagine you are sick. A persistent fever has weakened you, or a lingering cough has settled deep in your chest. Your family, deeply worried, will seek the help of a Dayan, a medicine man who has the knowledge of the mountain spirit ceremony. The preparations are extensive. The entire community contributes, gathering the necessary resources for the multi-day event. The medicine man spends days in prayer and preparation, creating sacred sand paintings on the floor of a large wickiup or a specially prepared teepee. These are not pictures in the modern sense. They are complex maps of the cosmos, intricate patterns made with colored sand, pollen, and crushed minerals, designed to attract the power of the spirits and restore harmony to the sick person. Then, for 4 consecutive nights, the ceremony unfolds. You, the patient, are seated inside the ceremonial space. The air is thick with the scent of burning sage and sacred herbs. The medicine man begins to chant, his voice low and rhythmic, reciting the ancient stories of creation, the long, powerful prayers that have been passed down for generations. The sound of a deer hoof rattle keeps time, and a water drum provides a deep, resonant heartbeat. Then they appear. The dancers embodying the Ga'an emerge from the darkness into the firelight. Their bodies are painted with sacred symbols of lightning and a white clay that makes them glow in the flickering light. They wear tall, elaborate wooden headdresses, intricately carved and painted, that represent the power and identity of the specific mountain spirit they are embodying. They move in a powerful, rhythmic dance around the fire, their steps shaking the ground, their high-pitched calls echoing through the night. They are accompanied by a clown figure, the Gray One, whose humorous and often disruptive antics provide a necessary comic relief and a reminder of the imperfections of the human world. To you, sitting weak and feverish, the sight is awe-inspiring and terrifyingly real. These are not men in costumes. These are the living, breathing mountain spirits who have come down from their sacred homes to drive out the illness that has taken hold of you. They dance for hours, their energy seemingly limitless. They may touch you with their wooden wands, transferring their healing power directly into your body. The medicine man continues his chants, guiding the power, focusing it on your restoration. The entire community is present, supporting the ceremony with their presence and their prayers. The power of this experience is immense. It is a combination of deep psychological reassurance, the focused compassion of an entire community, the hypnotic power of the chants and the drum, and the genuine medicinal properties of the herbs used by the shaman. It is a holistic approach to healing that treats the spirit, the mind, and the body as an inseparable whole. By the end of the 4 nights, you are exhausted, but you often feel a profound shift. Your fever may have broken. Your spirit, once burdened by fear and sickness, feels lighter, renewed, and restored to a state of harmony with the world around you. This is the power of Yin, made manifest through ceremony, a sacred force that can mend the broken threads of a life and pull you back from the edge of darkness. The making of a woman, the sunrise ceremony. In your world, the transition from childhood to adulthood is not a gradual, unmarked process. It is a moment of profound spiritual significance, a public declaration of a new identity and a new power. For a young man, this happens through his first hunt or his first raid. For a young woman, the transition is marked by one of the most important, beautiful, and demanding ceremonies in your culture, the sunrise ceremony or the changing woman ceremony. This is not just a party for a girl's first menstruation. It is a 4-day ritual that transforms a girl into a woman, and in doing so, channels the very essence of creation into your community. Imagine you are that girl, perhaps 13 or 14 years old. When you experience your first menses, your family does not treat it with shame or silence. They treat it as a moment of immense spiritual power. You are now capable of bringing forth new life. And this makes you a vessel for the same power as Changing Woman, the most benevolent and revered of all Apache deities. Changing Woman represents the earth, fertility, and the cyclical nature of life, death, and rebirth. For 4 days, you will not just be a girl, you will be Changing Woman. The preparations are extensive. Your family will spend months, sometimes years, saving and preparing for this event. They hire a medicine man who knows the complex songs and prayers of the ceremony. They prepare vast amounts of food to feed all the guests who will come from miles around to witness and participate. A special ceremonial tipi or a large brush arbor is constructed, and your ceremonial dress is prepared, a beautiful garment of tanned deerskin, decorated with intricate beadwork, fringe, and symbolic paintings. The ceremony begins at dawn on the first day. You are dressed in your sacred buckskin dress. Your face is painted with white clay. You are led by your sponsor, an older, respected woman from the community who will guide and support you through the entire ordeal. The medicine man begins to sing the first of the many songs that tell the story of creation and the life of Changing Woman. For 4 days and 4 nights, you are at the center of a whirlwind of ritual, song, and dance. The experience is physically and emotionally grueling. You are expected to dance for hours on end, often until you are near collapse. You run towards the east at dawn and at dusk, a symbolic reenactment of Changing Woman's journey. You are not allowed to drink much water, or to touch your own skin with your fingers, using a special scratching stick instead, as your body is now considered too sacred. One of the central rituals involves a large cane painted with sacred symbols. At various points in the ceremony, you press your body against this cane as you are molded by your sponsor. She kneads and presses your muscles, symbolically shaping you into a strong, resilient, and fertile woman, imbuing you with the endurance of Changing Woman herself. On the final night, the ceremony reaches its climax. The mountain spirit dancers, the Ga'an, appear, dancing around a great bonfire, their presence blessing your transition and protecting you from evil spirit. You will dance through the entire night, your feet pounding the earth, your body aching with exhaustion, but your spirit soaring with the power of the songs and the support of your community. The medicine man sings the final set of songs as the first light of dawn breaks on the eastern horizon. As the sun rises on the 5th day, the ceremony is complete. You are no longer a girl. You are a woman. You have been tested, and you have endured. You have not only secured your own future as a respected member of the community, but you have also brought a powerful blessing upon your people. By embodying Changing Woman, you have renewed the world, ensuring health, long life, and prosperity for your entire clan. The ceremony ends with a great feast and a giveaway, where your family distributes food and gifts to all the guests, a demonstration of their wealth and generosity. You are now considered a woman, ready for marriage and the responsibilities of raising a family. But more than that, you have been shown, in the most powerful way imaginable, the central and sacred role of women in your society. You are not a possession or a second-class citizen. You are the bearer of life, the embodiment of the earth's creative power, a living link in the endless, sacred cycle of your people. The sunrise ceremony is not just the making of a woman. It is the reaffirmation of the entire Apache world. The Wind Drinkers, a world transformed by the horse. For centuries, your world was a world measured in footsteps. The distance you could travel, the amount of goods you could carry, the speed with which you could hunt or move your camp, all were limited by the endurance of the human body. Your universe was, in a sense, a walking universe. Then, an animal arrived that would shatter those limitations and transform every single aspect of your existence. It came from the south, a creature of mythic size and speed, brought to this continent by the Spanish. You called it a wind drinker or sacred dog. It was the horse. Imagine the first time you see one. You are accustomed to the animals of your homeland, the deer, the pronghorn, the rabbit. This creature is different. It is larger, more powerful, and it carries a human on its back, moving with a speed that seems to defy nature. At first, it is an object of fear and awe, a tool of the strange, metal-clad invaders from the south. But your people are, above all, adaptable. You quickly recognize the immense potential of this animal. Through raiding Spanish settlements and trading with other tribes, you begin to acquire horses of your own. And learning to ride is not just a new skill, it is a revelation. To sit atop a horse is to feel a new kind of power, a new kind of freedom. The world, which once took days to cross, can now be crossed in hours. The horse revolutionizes your ability to hunt. Hunting the great bison herds on the plains was once a difficult and dangerous undertaking on foot, requiring immense skill and luck to get close enough for a kill. On horseback, the game changes entirely. You can now ride alongside the thundering herd, picking out a target and getting close enough to use your bow or lance with deadly efficiency. A successful bison hunt, once a rare and celebrated event, becomes a more regular and reliable source of sustenance. The horse allows you to kill more animals than you could ever process at one time, leading to a new level of abundance and wealth. Your mobility as a people is transformed. Before the horse, moving your entire camp, your wiki-ups, your possessions, your children, and your elders was a slow, laborious process. Now, you can pack your belongings onto a travois, a simple A-frame of poles dragged behind a horse, and move your entire camp dozens of miles in a single day. This allows you to follow the bison herds more effectively, to escape your enemies more quickly, and to exploit a much larger territory. Your world has expanded. The nature of raiding and warfare is also fundamentally altered. On horseback, a raiding party can cover vast distances with incredible speed, striking a distant settlement and disappearing back into the wilderness before an effective pursuit can be mounted. The horse becomes a weapon, a symbol of military prowess. A man's status is now measured not just by his courage or skill, but by the number and quality of the horses he owns. Horses become the primary form of wealth and the most sought-after prize in a raid. This new wealth, however, also brings new problems. Competition for the best horses and for the best grazing lands and water sources to support them intensifies conflicts between your band and your neighbors, including other Apache groups and especially your powerful rivals on the plains, the Comanche, who also become master horsemen. The horse culture creates a new kind of warrior society, more mobile, more aggressive, and more wide-ranging than ever before. Even your art and your sense of self begin to change. You decorate your best horses with paint and eagle feathers. You create new songs and stories about the power and beauty of the horse. It becomes a central figure in your cosmology, a sacred gift that has transformed your life. However, this new world is not without its costs. Your people become more dependent on a single resource, the horse, which is itself vulnerable to disease, theft, and drought. The increased focus on bison hunting and long-range raiding may lead to less attention being paid to the older, more sustainable practices of plant gathering. The new wealth generated by horses can also create greater social stratification, with some families and leaders accumulating large herds, while others have few. But there is no turning back. The horse has irrevocably changed your universe. The world that was once measured in the patient, steady rhythm of your own footsteps is now measured in the thunderous, exhilarating gallop of a horse. You are no longer just a person of the land. You are a person of the horse. This new identity gives you a power and a freedom your ancestors could never have dreamed of. But it will also place you on a direct and violent collision course with the other expanding powers in this land, the Mexicans and Soon, the Americans. Living with ghosts, the shadow of the deceased. In your world, the boundary between the living and the dead is not a solid, impenetrable wall. It is a thin, permeable veil, and you treat it with the utmost caution and respect. Death is a natural part of the cycle of life, but the spirits of the dead are a source of profound fear and anxiety. When a person dies, their physical body ceases to be, but their spirit, their chindi, lingers. And a chindi is not a benevolent guardian angel type of spirit. It is a ghost, a malevolent entity that is jealous of the living and can cause sickness, misfortune, and death. This deep-seated fear of the dead shapes your entire approach to mortality. When someone in your goda is clearly dying, they are not surrounded by weeping relatives in their own wickiup. Often, they are moved to a separate, temporary shelter, built a short distance from the main camp. This is an act not of cruelty, but of profound communal protection. It is done to prevent the person's chindi from becoming attached to their family home and lingering there after death, where it could cause endless trouble for the living. Imagine the grief and the fear. You love your dying relative, your mother, your brother, but you are also terrified of what they are about to become. You bring them food and water. You speak to them from a safe distance, but you avoid touching them. You are preparing for the separation, not just of a loved one from life, but of their spirit from your community. When death finally comes, the response is swift and methodical. There is no long, elaborate funeral ceremony or wake. The goal is to dispose of the body and all of its possessions as quickly as possible to encourage the chindi to move on and not trouble the living. The body is typically buried the same day. It is washed, dressed in its best clothes, and its face is painted with sacred pollen. It is then placed in a rock crevice or a shallow grave, always with the head oriented to the east, towards the rising sun. The grave is covered with stones to protect it from animals. Then comes the most dramatic and telling part of your mourning ritual. Everything that belonged to the deceased must be disposed of. Their personal possessions, their clothing, their tools, their weapons, their baskets are either buried with them or destroyed, often by burning. This is done so that the chindi has no reason to remain, no physical attachments to the world of the living. It is a form of spiritual cleansing. Most significantly, the wickiup in which the person lived, and especially the one in which they died, is considered contaminated by the chindi. It must be abandoned. The family will burn it to the ground, a puff of smoke that is both a funeral pyre and an act of purification. They will then move to a new spot and build a new home. This is one of the reasons your people are nomadic. Your spiritual beliefs demand a degree of mobility. You cannot become too attached to a single physical structure, because death will inevitably force you to leave it. After the burial and the destruction of the property, the name of the deceased is never spoken again. To speak their name is to risk calling their ghost back to you. They are referred to indirectly as the one who is gone, or by their relationship to you. This is not a sign of disrespect or a desire to forget. It is the ultimate sign of respect. You are allowing their spirit to complete its journey without being disturbed or pulled back by the grief of the living. Mourning is a deeply personal and quiet affair. There is no loud, public wailing. You might cut your hair short as a sign of your grief, and you will mourn silently, internally, for a prescribed period of time. This entire complex of beliefs has a profound impact on your culture. It explains why your people did not build permanent stone cities like your Pueblo neighbors. A city of the dead would be a terrifying place to live. It explains your nomadic lifestyle and your emphasis on having few material possessions. To accumulate wealth is to risk having it all destroyed upon your death. Your wealth lies in your skills, your relationships, and your spiritual knowledge, things a ghost cannot claim. To a modern observer, these practices might seem harsh or cold, but from your perspective, they are logical, necessary, and deeply respectful. You are taking care of your dead in the proper way, by ensuring a clean separation between their world and yours. You are protecting your family and your community from the most dangerous force you know, a lingering, unhappy ghost. You live your life with the constant, quiet awareness that the dead are always close, just on the other side of a thin veil. and it is your sacred duty to make sure they stay there. The Southern Shadow. First contact with the Spanish. For generations, your world was defined by your relationships with the land and with the other indigenous peoples who shared it. Then, a new and profoundly strange power appeared in the south. They came on horseback, clad in shining metal that glinted in the sun. They carried weapons that made a sound like thunder and could kill from a great distance. They built strange, square houses of mud and wood, and at the center of their villages, they always raised a large cross. They were the Spanish, and their arrival would mark the beginning of a new era of conflict, disease, and change that would last for centuries. Your first encounters with them are likely a mix of curiosity, trade, and suspicion. They have things you have never seen before: metal knives and pots, wool blankets, and, most importantly, the horse. You trade with them, exchanging deerskins and bison robes for these new and valuable goods. But you also watch them. You learn. You quickly realize that these newcomers are different from any other people you have ever met. They have a powerful and exclusive religion. They believe in a single God, and they are aggressively intolerant of your own spiritual beliefs. Men in brown robes, the priests, try to convince you to abandon your ways, to give up your ceremonies and your belief in the mountain spirits in Usin. They tell you that your sacred practices are the work of a devil. This is deeply insulting and incomprehensible to you. Your spirituality is the very foundation of your existence. To abandon it would be to abandon yourself. The Spanish also have an insatiable hunger for two things: wealth and labor. They are searching for gold and silver, and they are disappointed to find none in your lands. So they turn to another resource: your people. The Spanish practice a brutal form of slavery. Raiding parties from the settlements in New Mexico will sweep into your territory, capturing women and children to be sold as slaves, forced to work in Spanish households or mines. This is not like your own practice of taking captives, who could eventually be adopted and integrated into the clan. This is a permanent, brutal, and dehumanizing bondage. In response, your people retaliate. You raid their settlements, not just for horses and goods, but to reclaim your stolen relatives. This begins a vicious and self-perpetuating cycle of violence. The Spanish see your raids as unprovoked aggression from savage heathens. You see your raids as a just and necessary response to their theft of your people and their encroachment on your lands. There is no common ground, no shared understanding. You are operating from two completely different worldviews. The Spanish also bring with them invisible weapons, far more deadly than their guns: diseases. Your people have no immunity to smallpox, measles, or influenza. These new sicknesses sweep through your camps with apocalyptic force, killing vast numbers of your people, especially the very young and the very old. Entire godas are wiped out. The knowledge of elders, the skills of hunters, the wisdom of medicine women all vanish in a wave of fever and death. You have no spiritual or herbal defense against these new plagues. They are a profound mystery, a terrifying sign that the balance of the world has been terribly disturbed. You learn to adapt your strategies for dealing with the Spanish. You learn to fight them on your own terms, using your intimate knowledge of the rugged terrain to your advantage. You become masters of guerrilla warfare, striking quickly and then disappearing into the mountains and canyons where their slow-moving, heavily equipped soldiers cannot follow. You also learn to play them against your other enemies. Sometimes you might form a temporary, uneasy alliance with a Spanish force to fight a common enemy, like the Comanche. But you never submit. Unlike many of the settled Pueblo peoples, who were forced to live under direct Spanish rule in their villages, your nomadic lifestyle is your greatest defense. You can retreat into the vastness of the wilderness, making you a much more difficult target to conquer and control. The Spanish establish a line of presidios, or forts, along the northern frontier of their empire, but they never succeed in truly subjugating you. For 200 years, your people and the Spanish are locked in a state of endemic warfare, a long, bloody, and exhausting struggle for control of the land, its resources, and its very soul. The Spanish are a shadow that has fallen over your world, and it is a shadow that will never fully recede. The enemy of my enemy, a world of shifting alliances. To see your world as a simple, two-sided conflict, Apache versus everyone else, is to misunderstand the complex, shifting, and dangerous political landscape you inhabit. You are not a single, unified Apache nation. You are a collection of distinct, independent, and sometimes rival bands and groups. Your primary loyalty is not to a concept of Apacheria, but to your own Goda, your own local group. And your relationships with your neighbors, both Apache and non-Apache, are a constantly evolving tapestry of trade, kinship, conflict, and temporary alliance. Your greatest enemies are often not the distant Spanish or the later Americans, but the other powerful, aggressive tribes who compete with you for the same scarce resources. On the eastern plains, your mortal enemies are the Comanche. The Comanche are, like you, masters of the horse, and they are a formidable expansionist power. They fight you for control of the bison herds, for the best hunting grounds, and for access to trade routes. The warfare between your people and the Comanche is relentless and brutal, a long and bloody struggle that shapes the lives of generations. To the north, you might have conflicts with the Ute, and to the south and west, with agricultural peoples like the Pima and the Tohono O'odham, whose settled villages are often the targets of your raids for food and livestock. These are not simple conflicts of good versus evil. They are complex struggles for survival in a harsh and unforgiving environment. You raid them for resources, and they, in turn, organize punitive expeditions against you. But conflict is not the only form of interaction. You also trade. You might trade the baskets your women weave, or the high-quality jerky you make, with the Pueblo peoples for their corn, their pottery, and their woven cotton cloth. These trade relationships can create periods of peace and mutual benefit. You might even have intermarriage between your band and a Pueblo village, creating ties of kinship that can be called upon in times of need. Your relationships with other Apache groups are just as complex. A Mescalero Apache band might see a Chiricahua band as kin, as fellow Apache, but they are also potential competitors. You might cooperate on a large-scale hunt or a major war party against a common enemy, but you might also find yourselves in conflict over a particularly good hunting territory or a valuable spring. Alliances are fluid, pragmatic, and subject to change. The arrival of the Spanish, and later the Mexicans and Americans, adds another layer of complexity to this already intricate world. You become masters of playing your enemies against each other. You might, for example, make a temporary peace treaty with the Spanish Presidio commander, agreeing to stop raiding his particular settlement in exchange for rations or trade goods. You might even agree to serve as scouts for his soldiers against a rival Apache band that has been causing him trouble. Then, a season later, you might break that treaty and raid the very same settlement, or form an alliance with the band you just fought against to attack the Spanish. This is not treachery from your perspective. It is smart, pragmatic diplomacy. The newcomers are just another power to be managed, manipulated, and when possible, exploited. You see that they are not a monolithic force either. The Spanish fight the French, the Mexicans fight the Spanish, and the Americans fight the Mexicans. You expertly navigate these larger geopolitical conflicts, always seeking an advantage for your own small band. This fluid political world requires a leader of immense skill. A leader, or Nantan, is not a hereditary king who rules by divine right. He is a man who has earned the respect of his people through his wisdom, his generosity, his spiritual power, and his success in providing for and protecting his Gota. He cannot issue commands. He must lead by persuasion and consensus. If his leadership fails, if his raids are unsuccessful, or if his diplomacy leads to disaster, his followers will simply leave him and join another, more successful leader. Your political world is democratic, pragmatic, and unforgiving. You live in a state of constant calculation, weighing the benefits of peace against the necessities of raiding, the obligations of kinship against the opportunities of a new alliance. Your world is a chessboard of shifting loyalties, where today's ally might be tomorrow's enemy, and survival depends on your ability to anticipate your opponent's next move. This is the reality of your political existence. a brilliant, dangerous, and unending dance of conflict and cooperation. The American tide, broken promises, and a closing cage. The Spanish were a shadow on your world. The Mexicans who followed them were a continuation of the same struggle. But the new people who begin to arrive from the east after the war between Mexico and the United States are different. They are a force of nature, a relentless, unstoppable tide. They are the Americans, and their arrival will signal the beginning of the end for the world you have always known. At first, you might even see them as potential allies. They have defeated your old enemies, the Mexicans. Perhaps, you think, these Americans will be different. Some of your leaders, like the great Chiricahua chief Cochise, initially try to establish peaceful relationships with them. You trade with their wagon trains. You allow them to pass through your territory. You watch them, curious and cautious. But you quickly learn that the Americans are driven by a hunger that dwarfs anything you have ever seen before. It is a hunger for land. They come not just as soldiers or traders, but as settlers, as miners, as ranchers. They arrive in a flood, building their towns, their forts, their mines, and their farms directly in your best hunting grounds, on top of your sacred sites, and next to your precious springs. They do not see the land as a living entity to be shared. They see it as a resource to be owned, fenced, and exploited. They have a concept called manifest destiny, the belief that their God has given them the right to conquer the entire continent. It is a belief that leaves no room for you. Conflict is inevitable. A dispute over a stolen mule, a misunderstanding at a new fort, the murder of an Apache by a group of miners, any small spark can ignite a firestorm of violence. The American response to any perceived Apache transgression is often disproportionate and brutal. Their armies do not fight like your warriors, striking quickly and disappearing. They wage wars of extermination, attacking your camps, killing women and children, and destroying your food supplies. The Americans also bring with them a new and powerful weapon, the treaty. Their officials will come to you and your leaders and ask for a counsel. They bring gifts and speak of peace and friendship. They will offer you a treaty, a piece of paper with writing on it. They will promise you that if you agree to stay within a certain designated area, a reservation, they will provide you with food, blankets, and protection from the settlers. They will promise that this land will be yours forever. You listen to the promises, translated by someone who may or may not be trustworthy. The concept of owning land is foreign to you, but the promise of peace and rations is tempting, especially when your people are starving and weary of constant warfare. Some of your leaders, seeing no other choice, will agree. They will touch the pen, making their mark on the paper. But you learn again and again the same heartbreaking lesson. The Americans' words are like water poured on the sand. The treaties are always broken. A few years after a reservation is established, gold or silver might be discovered on your land. The treaty is then declared void. The miners and settlers rush in. You are told you must move again, to a new, more desolate piece of land, a place where no one else wants to live. Or the promised rations fail to arrive, stolen by corrupt government agents, leaving your people to starve on the reservation. Or settlers will encroach on your reservation lands, stealing your timber and grazing their cattle on your pastures, and the American soldiers will do nothing to stop them. You are caught in a closing cage. The old ways of survival are becoming impossible. The deer and the pronghorn are disappearing, hunted out by the American settlers. The wild plants you once gathered are being eaten by their cattle. The springs are being taken over. To leave the reservation to hunt or gather is considered an act of hostility, a violation of the treaty. You are expected to become a farmer, to plow the earth in this dry, unsuitable land, a way of life that is completely alien to your culture and your spirit. Your leaders are divided. Some, the peace chiefs, argue that resistance is futile, that the only way to survive is to accommodate the Americans, to learn their ways. Others, the war chiefs, argue that it is better to die fighting on your own terms than to slowly starve in the prison of a reservation. Your people are torn apart by these impossible choices. The American tide is rising, and it threatens to drown your entire world. You are no longer fighting for horses or territory. You are fighting for your very existence. The reservation agony. Life in hell's 40 acres. The final strategy of the Americans is not to defeat you in battle, but to concentrate you, to imprison you in a place where your spirit can be broken. You are rounded up by the army, your band, along with other, sometimes rival, Apache groups, and forced on a long, brutal march to a place called a reservation. One of the most infamous of these is the San Carlos Reservation in the Arizona Territory. You and your people call it Hell's 40 Acres. Imagine this new home. It is not the cool, high mountain country of pine and oak that you love. It is a low, flat, sun-blasted river bottom, brutally hot in the summer, infested with mosquitoes and flies. The water of the Gila River is brackish and unhealthy. The land is barren, unsuitable for the farming the government agents now demand you practice. This is the place you are expected to live out your days. Your freedom is gone. This is the first and most devastating blow. Your entire culture is based on mobility, on the freedom to move with the seasons, to follow the game, to gather the plants as they ripen. Now, you are a prisoner. You are not allowed to leave the reservation boundaries without a written pass from the white Indian agent. If you are caught off the reservation, you can be imprisoned or shot. The world, which was once a boundless expanse, has shrunk to this small, miserable patch of desert. The government promises to feed you. Each week, you are required to line up for rations. The agent doles out flour, sugar, coffee, and beef from scrawny cattle. The food is unfamiliar and often spoiled. The flour is frequently infested with weevils. The beef is from diseased animals. It is a diet that makes your people sick, a diet that lacks the nutrition of the wild foods you once ate, but you are dependent on it. The hunting grounds are gone, the gathering places are off limits. To refuse the rations is to starve. This forced dependency is a profound humiliation, stripping your men of their role as providers and hunters. Disease, which was always a threat, now becomes a relentless, consuming plague. Confined in a crowded, unsanitary environment, with a poor diet and contaminated water, your people are ravaged by epidemics. Tuberculosis, pneumonia, influenza, and devastating outbreaks of dysentery sweep through the camp, killing hundreds. The medicine men do their best, performing their healing ceremonies, but their power seems diminished in this broken place. The spiritual disharmony is too great. Your culture is under direct assault. The government agents and the missionaries who follow them are determined to civilize you. They forbid you from performing your sacred ceremonies, like the crown dance, calling them pagan and savage. They tell you that your belief in Usan and the mountain spirits is devil worship. They cut the long hair of the men, a source of spiritual pride. They try to force your children into reservation schools, where they are punished for speaking their own language and are taught that their people's ways are shameful and primitive. The social fabric of your life begins to unravel. Confining different, often rival Apache bands together in one small area creates constant tension and conflict. The authority of your traditional leaders is undermined by the Indian agent, who often appoints his own chiefs, men who are willing to cooperate with him, regardless of their standing in the community. Alcohol, introduced by unscrupulous traders, becomes a new and destructive force, offering a temporary escape from the misery and hopelessness, but leaving addiction and violence in its wake. You live in a state of perpetual grief. You grieve for your lost freedom. You grieve for your dead children. You grieve for the mountains you can see in the distance but can no longer visit. You grieve for the ceremonies you can no longer perform. Your spirit aches with a sickness that no medicine can cure. The reservation is not just a physical prison. It is a spiritual one. It is a place designed to systematically dismantle your identity, to erase your culture, to turn you from a proud, independent Apache into a dependent, broken ward of the state. Many of your people give up hope and sink into a deep, listless despair, but not all of them. For some, this agony is not an end, but a catalyst for one last, desperate fight for freedom. The path of the warrior, the final resistance. The agony of reservation life is a slow, grinding death. For some of your people, it is a fate they cannot accept. It is better, they believe, to die fighting in the mountains of their homeland than to slowly waste away in the squalor of San Carlos. And so, they break out. They leave the blanket, slipping away from the reservation under the cover of darkness. A small band of warriors, women and children, choosing the life of the hunted over the life of the prisoner. This is the final, desperate chapter of Apache resistance. One of the most famous, most brilliant, and most misunderstood leaders of this resistance is a Chiricahua shaman and warrior whose Apache name is Goyakla. The Mexicans, whose soldiers he fights with a legendary fury after they murder his wife, his mother, and his children, give him another name, Geronimo. To the Americans, Geronimo is a symbol of savage, bloodthirsty resistance. To his own people, he is a man of immense spiritual power, a visionary, and a leader driven by a grief so profound it is hardened into an unquenchable desire for vengeance and freedom. He is not a hereditary chief, but men follow him because they believe in his power, his cunning, and his absolute refusal to surrender. Imagine what it is like to be part of Geronimo's band. You are now an outlaw in your own land. The United States Army, with its thousands of soldiers, its network of forts, its telegraph lines, and its railroads, is hunting you. Mexican troops are hunting you from the south. Civilian bounty hunters are hunting you, eager to claim the price on your scalp. You are outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Your only ally is the land itself. You become a ghost of the mountains. You move constantly, rarely sleeping in the same place twice. You travel light and fast, living entirely off the land. You are a master of survival, able to find water where there appears to be none, to live on plants and animals that a white man would overlook. You are also a master of guerrilla warfare. Your strategy is not to engage the army in a pitched battle. That would be suicide. Your strategy is to bleed them, to frustrate them, to exhaust them, to make the cost of hunting you so high that they will finally leave you in peace. You use the rugged terrain of the Sierra Madre and the Chiricahua Mountains as your fortress. You know every canyon, every pass, every hidden spring. You can set a perfect ambush, striking a supply train or a small detachment of soldiers and then vanishing back into the labyrinth of rocks before the survivors can even organize a response. You can travel for 75 miles in a single day, on foot, through terrain that a shod horse cannot navigate. You are fighting not with superior numbers or weapons, but with superior knowledge, endurance, and will. But life on the run is brutal and exhausting. You are always hungry, always thirsty, always moving. You are haunted by the fear of discovery. A single, careless footprint, the smoke from a cooking fire seen at the wrong moment, the cry of a baby in the night, any of these can betray your location and bring the army down upon you. The soldiers are relentless. They use other Apache scouts, men from rival bands or those who have surrendered, to track you. This is the greatest betrayal of all, to be hunted by your own people, who know the land as well as you do. The strain on the women and children is immense. They travel with the warriors, sharing all the hardships and dangers. They are the ones who gather the food, tend to the wounded, and keep the children quiet when the enemy is near. They are as resilient and as vital to the resistance as any warrior. For years, Geronimo and his small band of followers lead the army on an epic chase across thousands of miles of the most rugged territory in North America. They become legends, symbols of an unbreakable spirit of defiance. But it is a war of attrition they cannot win. Their numbers dwindle. They are worn down by constant pursuit, by starvation, and by the profound weariness of a hopeless fight. Finally, in 1886, Geronimo surrenders for the last time. He and his followers, including the women and children, are not treated as prisoners of war. They are loaded onto railroad cars, a terrifying smoke-belching machine they have never seen before, and shipped thousands of miles away to prisons in Florida, then Alabama, and finally to Fort Sill in Oklahoma. They are prisoners of the United States government, exiled from the mountains and deserts that were the very source of their spiritual and physical life. The Apache Wars are over. The resistance is broken. But the story is not. The enduring spirit, survival in a new world. The surrender of Geronimo marks the end of the Apache Wars, but it does not mark the end of the Apache people. The last quarter of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th is a period of profound trauma and forced adaptation. A winter of the spirit that seems as if it will never end. You are no longer a warrior or a free hunter. You are a ward of the state, a prisoner in your own land. For Geronimo's band of Chiricahua, the exile is long and bitter. They are held as prisoners of war for 27 years, moved from the humid, disease-ridden swamps of Florida to the confines of an army post in Oklahoma. They die in huge numbers from tuberculosis and despair. The children are taken from their parents and sent to industrial boarding schools, like the one in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. This is perhaps the cruelest and most calculated blow of all. The motto of these schools is, "Kill the Indian and save the man." The children's Apache names are replaced with English ones. Their long hair is cut. They are forbidden from speaking their own language and are brutally punished if they do. They are dressed in military-style uniforms and drilled in the ways of the white world. The goal is to systematically erase their culture, to sever the sacred link between one generation and the next. Many children die at these schools from disease and loneliness. Those who survive and eventually return to their people are often caught between two worlds, belonging fully to neither. Back on the reservations in Arizona and New Mexico, life is a daily struggle for cultural and physical survival. The government's policy of assimilation continues relentlessly. The traditional economy is destroyed. The authority of the clan leaders is replaced by a tribal council system modeled on American government. The medicine men and their healing ceremonies are actively suppressed by missionaries and government agents. It is a time of darkness, poverty, and loss. And yet, the spirit of your people does not die. It goes underground. In secret, away from the watchful eyes of the agents and missionaries, the elders continue to tell the old stories. The women continue to teach their daughters the intricate art of basket weaving. The medicine men continue to pass down their sacred knowledge of the healing chants and the power of the ga'an. The language, the core of your identity, is whispered in the home, even when it is forbidden in the school. The sunrise ceremony, though sometimes banned, is still performed, a powerful act of cultural defiance and an affirmation of the sacred role of women. Slowly, over the course of the 20th century, things begin to change. New federal policies, like the Indian Reorganization Act of the 1930s, officially end the assault on native religions and cultures and give tribes more autonomy. Your people begin to reclaim their voice and their future. They form tribal governments that work to improve life on the reservation, building schools, hospitals, and businesses. They fight legal battles to protect their land and their water rights. Today, the Apache people are still here. They live on reservations in Arizona and New Mexico, lands that are but a tiny, fractured fraction of their ancestral territory. They face immense challenges. High rates of poverty, unemployment, and health problems like diabetes are the direct, lingering legacy of colonization and the reservation agony. But they are also a people of profound resilience. The Apache language is still spoken. The sacred ceremonies are still performed, now openly and with pride. Young girls still go through the ancient ordeal of the sunrise ceremony, connecting them directly to the power of changing women and the traditions of their grandmothers. Apache artists create stunning works of art, from traditional baskets and beadwork to modern painting and sculpture. Apache ranchers raise cattle, and tribal governments operate successful enterprises. They have not forgotten their past. The stories of the long migration from the north, of the great leaders like Cochise and Geronimo, of the agony of San Carlos, and of the fierce resistance against overwhelming odds, these stories are still told. They are a source of identity, of pride, and of a deep, unshakable strength. To understand your people is to understand that survival is not just about the absence of death. It is about the persistence of culture. It is the ability to hold on to the core of your identity, your language, your spirituality, your kinship, even in the face of a systematic, century-long effort to extinguish it. The world of the free-roaming nomadic hunter is gone forever, a casualty of history. but the spirit of the Apache adaptable, tough, resilient, and fiercely protective of its own endures. It lives in the laughter of children playing on the reservation, in the rhythmic chant of a medicine man, and in the enduring strength of the mountains that have always been, and will always be, their sacred home.